Good evening. This is the White Plains Citizen Net Reporter. Coronavirus, the plague of our time, the microscopic enemy you cannot see, has become horrifying as it sweeps across New York State, America, and the world. There were 884 coronavirus positive cases in White Plains, as reported by Mayor Roach at 7:15 last night, an increase of just 10%, meaning White Plains citizens are observing Mayor Roach's plea to social distance from other citizens. Good job. The White Plains citizens have steadily maintained this behavior, and thank you. Now, let's go to the White Plains Week newsreel video, March of Time, and that was the headline you saw on the internet this morning, and it complicates our situation. President Trump rejected New York's plea for more ventilators because he does not believe our need is as great as Andrew Cuomo says it is. And this was the paper we saw this morning, and this is another one of those sobering headlines for all time, and it means that 3.3 million people applied for unemployment last week nationwide, and of course the hospitals are becoming in trouble. Now, the White Plains infection rate contrasts how the number of coronavirus positive people continue to grow in Westchester County, Rockland County, Dutchess, and of course exponentially in New York City. In Westchester, Thursday evening, there were 5,944 infected. 1,253 of them are new, an increase of 27% from Wednesday. 26,288 persons in Westchester County have been tested. There is a 5,944 positive infection rate, and that was as of last night, Thursday. We're taping on Friday. Now, the rate of infection in Westchester is 23%. Not good. Compare that with 10% in White Plains. There are 37,700 corona positive in New York State. The number was up 22% in one day Thursday. Sadly, Mr. Cuomo's staff originally predicted 80,000 cases in New York State and perhaps more. And with 2 weeks to go for the peak week, we are halfway to that number. But New York State is more prepared than any other state.
And since we still have a large number of people on ventilators for a long period of time, the experts expect that number to continue to increase, right? And we've said this from day one. You get the infection, 80% self-resolve, they don't go into the hospital. Some percentage go into the hospital, get treated, and go home. Some percentage go into the hospital, need a ventilator, they're on the ventilator, and they never come off the ventilator. And that is a situation where people just deteriorate over time. And that's what we're seeing. That is that vulnerable population, that very small percentage, 2 or 3% of the population who we've always worried about. But that's what we're seeing. And again, we expect it to increase because as time goes on, by definition, we have more and more people on ventilators for a longer period of time. Total number of people tested, 18,000. That's the breakdown. Number of positive cases, total 37,000, new cases 6,400. The curve continues to go up. The spread across the state continues, which is also what we expected. just the way it's spread all across the country. We now just have several counties that don't have a single case. The overall number, 37,000 tested positive, 5,000 people current hospital.
And this was the way it was yesterday morning on Thursday, and Mr. Cuomo says that the persons that are already housed in ICU may, not recover. And so the fact that we're not getting the ventilators Mr. Cuomo has pleaded for is going to complicate this situation. Mr. Cuomo is the daily voice of expertise on coronavirus, watched by millions around the world. He is the peerless leader. Mr. Cuomo soberly, fact by fact, number by number, depicts unflinchingly the sweep of the relentless incursion, county by county, adding an encouraging, inspirational message at the close of each talk. A smart, caring, stern leader in the time of the coronavirus. He interprets the present, he predicts the future, and he tells the truth. In 11 days, he has marshaled resources, attracted thousands of volunteers to step in to relieve New York medical staff when they fall victim to the virus. We have a slide showing just the number of people from outside New York and around the state who have volunteered. There you have it. Look at those numbers. This is a tribute to the real commitment of the doctors in this country who go where needed, because that's what they do. Thank you. And he has expanded hospital bed capacity to 120,000, and we need 150,000 if the present pace continues. As of midweek, 4 new hospitals are being built by the Army Corps of Engineers. The Army Corps Engineers are building here now because Governor Cuomo made the most important phone call ever made in New York State Sunday. He convinced President Trump on the phone to send those Army Corps of Engineers, now hard at work converting the Javits Center and Westchester County Center, to build 4 new hospitals. And yesterday, President Trump routed a hospital ship to New York a little earlier than expected, and they will be here probably at the height of the expected cases. And another public request convinced the president to ship 4,500 ventilators to the state. The governor's liaisoning with hospital leaders got the hospitals to expand capacity 50%. His staff's research found a way to convert anesthesia ventilators to ICU ventilators, increasing ventilator availability. The governor said Thursday no more ventilators were available. They either have to be manufactured or purchased. A little more about that in a moment. As we talk to you, hospitals are being overrun with new cases, and if you have anxiety, you can speak to a mental professional by calling this hotline, making an appointment, giving them your telephone number, and they will call you back. 1-844-863-9314. And Mr. Cuomo set that up. That's in operation. The governor is going to shift New York cases to less crowded hospitals around the state to free up bed space. He has acquired, through staff efforts, enough protective equipment and supplies to serve the healthcare professionals for now. At the beginning of the week, when case numbers showed that the rate of coronavirus patients diagnosed with the virus were taking 5 days before they had to be hospitalized. In 24 hours, that changed Thursday, which the governor said was due to hospitals not reporting at the same pace. He secured protective equipment for physicians, saying the C had enough for now, but the state would need more. He predicted the worst onslaught of hospitalizations would occur in 1 to 3 weeks. The second week is this week, coming up. The third week is April 6 to 10. Yesterday, the governor underscored the sobering fact that 3% of all infected cases would be most likely to die because they are the ones on ventilators. The longer you are on a ventilator, the more chances are you will eventually die. Now, here is what Governor Cuomo had to say about the supplies and some of the fluctuating numbers.
Or get additional companies to manufacture ventilators. Jess? Yeah, there is, but there's not a stockpile that is large enough to meet the national need.
You said yesterday that the projections were showing that the hospital rates seem to be slowing. Today we see a 40% increase in hospitalization. Were the projections wrong? Are you redoing those projections? How do you write those two figures?
You don't. When you talk to the projection models, what they'll say is you get a fluctuation. They don't know if it's a deviation in what the hospitals happen to report that day, because remember, this is self-reported data from the hospitals, Jesse. So they say you get a fluctuation from time to time. Don't look at any one day. Don't look at any period less than 3 or 4 days in sequence. So we'll just continue to watch it.
By the same token, you said...
Excuse me 1 second, Karen.
So, by the same token, you said today and yesterday that PPE is not a problem, but then we had these kind of troubling reports that some nurses were using trash bags and kind of improvising. Can you write those two statements as well?
Yeah, we've called the individual hospitals. There's no doubt that in the past few days, there's maybe the distribution is a little start and stop. But we have enough PPE, and the New York City officials say they have enough PPE for the New York City hospitals. Melissa, is that right?
Yeah, I spoke to Ken Davis from Mount Sinai this morning, reacting to the New York Post story I know we all saw, and he assured me that they have all the PPE that they need there. I checked in with Mitch Katz at H&H and Emma Wolf in New York City. They've got all the PPE that they need in New York City. So as these individual stories are popping up, they're reacting to them in real time, but they continue to assure us that they have what they need at the moment, and we've assured them that if they don't, we will get them what they need immediately.
We have enough PPE in stock for the immediate need. Not past the immediate need, but for the immediate need. And
The end, at the beginning of the week, Congress deliberated for 5 days on a coronavirus stimulus bill to help the nation recover. But it is not going to help the nation to recover. It is helping business to recover, big business. Governor Cuomo was the first to point this out. And Mayor Thomas Roach of White Plains began the practice of sending out a recorded message 13 days ago, which is very reassuring and specifically highlights issues. He noticed athletic contests on city playgrounds and ordered police to disperse them regularly, if spotted, and asked Mr. and Mrs. White Plains if they see groups of persons playing on the fields to call the police, 422-6111. 422-6111. The mayor noted that people should not gather in groups and should stay in their homes and restrict driving to acquiring food, getting medications, or attending medical appointments. WestMed in White Plains has introduced virtual appointments so persons can talk to doctors without having to go to the WestMed facilities and can communicate with doctors through computer means. The mayor advised Thursday people should not throw sanitary wipes into the toilet because the practice is clogging the sewer system. He announced free parking for picking up food in the restaurant district. But unfortunately, we are not all wearing masks. And this is very important that people go out with a mask over your face and gloves on your hands, okay? I want you to do that for me. And for yourself, of course. Now, going back to the big business and how this bailout helps. It goes to big business in trouble. It goes to small businesses in trouble and offers to refund loans if small and big businesses do not lay off people. Who determines who these small businesses are? The $500 billion goes to large distressed corporations. It is mainly capitalizing the businesses with loans to cover their lack of cash flow. This in addition to the Federal Reserve saying they will buy back government-backed debt to shore up and keep the markets for housing and treasury bonds trading. Not enough aid goes to families. Has anyone in Congress shopped for food for a family? What does business get? A $500 billion government program to distress corporations due to customers not spending money, and aid to bail out airlines, and $100 billion to hospitals to help with the coronavirus. How hospitals spend when they need ventilators and there are none to be found is interesting. Hopefully the hospitals will not spend it on new facilities. Why did the Senate Democrats vote this? Because they prevented money going to Trump-owned hotels and created an overseer position to evaluate distribution of the monies. That appears to be the only thing the Democrats cared about as a reason for going along with what Republicans wanted on distributing aid to states. And as you can see from this written statement sent to me by the spokesman for New York State, the statement points out how the aid is distributed across the country, and New York, which has a very big percentage of what it gives to the country, is put in line. And the statement is on my website. You got to read it because it points out this is a pork barrel approach to the aid. Now, Governor Cuomo's, there is a considerable argument over the need to get the economy going. President Trump wants the economy open by Easter, relaxing national stay-at-home practices instituted to slow the spread of coronavirus. Well, if you do suspend it, you do not know whether that will accelerate virus spread or not. It is a gamble. Would you go and buy a car? Will they pay off student loans? Will that pay your rent increase for more than 1 month? These congressmen and women all grew up in humble beginnings, right? That's what they tell us. They have no idea of the real world. Education in White Plains. Well, this is a success story. As you remember, Governor Cuomo shut down the school systems across New York State effective last week after the spring break vacation. He ordered the schools across the state to teach classes by computer at home. The schools had 2 days to implement this, and in White Plains, they did it. I interviewed Dr. Joseph Ricca, White Plains Superintendent of Schools, by telephone from his home Thursday, and he told me teachers are heroes. He said the system of teachers staying at home and teaching classes by computer to members of their classes staying in their homes, the students on computer, took up where they left off, is working. Dr. Ricca said he was prouder of the district's teachers, principals, and administrators than he has ever been. They, in the course of 2 days, put together with district tech people the system. Dr. Ricca said the students miss the personal learning with their teachers they get in the classroom. They miss their classmates and friends. They're scared and can hardly wait to get back to school, considering. And Dr. Ricca told me the computer classes are run in every school, every grade, every class. The district has contracted 3 local child care associations, Child Care of Westchester, the YMCA, and United Preschool Center. Some 20 White Plains first responders and healthcare providers have placed their children in the program. Dr. Ricca said the district employs these associations in the district pre-K program and bills them for direct district expenses, but the district does not pay for child care. County Executive George Latimer put this program of daycare together for first responders and health worker daycare through extensive networking with child care, providing businesses through the 44 Westchester towns and cities. A tremendous achievement by Mr. Latimer. He should be congratulated for that because of his knowledge of these organizations, and he did it in, I think, 2 days. Dr. Ricca said the school district is serving approximately 200 meals a day to children eligible for breakfast and lunch. 1,300 meals were served this week out of White Plains High School, Church Street School, Post Road School, and Rochambeau School that can be picked from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. On the subject of the White Plains school budget, the Board of Education held a meeting Monday evening but did not take any steps to cut anything from the budget until they had further indications of what the state budget will be. Dr. Ricker told WPCNR the revenues are in place for the 2021 budget. However, he acknowledged the 2021-22 budget would be very affected by the results of state revenues and city assessment trends in the next year. In this short clip, Governor Cuomo addresses how he's going to fix the state budget.
The same thing, first of all, right? Federal government has a revenue loss. State governments have a revenue loss. City governments have a revenue loss. So no one can say, Karen, well, I don't accept this reality of a revenue loss. It is a reality for everyone, and everyone has to adjust to it. I'm sure there'll be some people who say, well, I shouldn't have to adjust to it, you know? I should be held harmless from reality. No one's held harmless from reality. Go tell any family out there, you know, reality doesn't count. So everyone is going to have to deal with the reality. I can't protect them from the reality. The way and again, we've never done this before, doesn't mean we can't, just that we never have. But what we're thinking about is quarterly or something like that, adjustments that are almost mathematical reflections of what the revenues are. In other words, you know what the revenue projection is, and you know how much money you've made for that quarter, right? And whatever that deviation is would be automatic. It would be done by the division of the budget. I don't believe the legislature is going to want to come up here every quarter and go through numbers. At this rate, with the spread of the virus, you know, I don't even know that it would be responsible to ask for a convening of the legislature periodically. But that's the general concept we're talking about. This is all a reaction to what the federal government did yesterday. I was shocked that they were so irresponsible in addressing the state and the city need. I mean, I never believed that they would just pass a piece of legislation that didn't address it. You know, they just did not address the revenue shortfall. They provided money for COVID, the amount of money we're spending on the virus, but they just did nothing on the revenue loss. You know, they know we have to fund education. They'll all say in their speeches, education, education, it's our children's future. And then they do absolutely nothing.
And as we go out, here is Governor Cuomo on the attitude it will take to get through the weeks ahead.
My gratuitous 2 cents, which is probably worth a penny and a half. This is a life moment. It's a moment in the life of this country. It's a moment in the life of the world. It's a moment in our family lives. It's a moment for each of us. Each of us is dealing with it in our own way. And my observation has been that when the pressure is on, is when you really see what people are made of. In a personal relationship, in a business relationship, you know, people can be great when everything is great. The question is, what does a person do when things aren't great? And what does a person do when the pressure is on them? And that's when you can see a little crack in the foundation of a person. But when the pressure is on that little crack can explode, and that foundation can crumble. Or you can see the exact opposite. You can see them get stronger. But you get to see what they're really made of. And you get to see the best, and you get to see the worst. You get to see the beauty in people, and you get to see the opposite. The outpouring of support for the people of New York has been so inspiring. not just from New Yorkers. I'm telling you from across the country, from across the world. You would be amazed at how many phone calls we get, how many offers of support, how many creative ideas from everyone. We've asked medical staff to volunteer. There's retired medical staff who are no longer practicing. 40,000 had volunteered. We now have 12,000 more people in one day volunteering to help on the medical staff. We asked mental health professionals to come forward to volunteer to offer free mental health services for people who are dealing with the stress and the trauma of the situation. We had 6,000 people. We now have 8,600 people. We have mental health professionals from other states calling up and saying they'll provide mental health services electronically, through Skype or over the telephone. I mean, it really is, it's just, it gives me such strength and such inspiration. But I don't want to sugarcoat the situation. The situation is not easy. But easy times don't forge character. It's the tough times that forge character. And that's what we're looking at right now. People say to me, you know, people are getting tired of this situation. They've been home, it's going on a couple of weeks, they're getting tired. Well, the truth is that this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. We always said this is not going to be over quickly. I understand people are tired, but I also understand that people in this situation are really stepping up to the plate and are doing phenomenal work. So the next time you feel tired, and believe me, I feel tired, but when I feel tired, I think of the first responders who are out there every day showing up. I think of the police officers. I think of the firefighters who are up there every day. The grocery store workers who are working double shifts just to keep food on the shelves because people are buying so much food because they're nervous. The pharmacists who have lines going out the door and they're showing up every day, day after day. The transportation workers who don't have the luxury of feeling tired because they have to get up and they have to drive the bus so the nurses and the healthcare professionals can get to work. And those healthcare professionals who are dealing with a virus that they didn't even understand, they still don't understand. And they're there working, many of them 7 days a week. So yes, we're tired, but look at what others among us have to do and the challenge they're under and how they are stepping up. And who am I to complain about being tired when so many people are doing such heroic efforts? And I also think this is going to be transformative and formative for society. You think about our children. I have my daughters here with me. This is the first time they've faced a real national adversity, right? Oh, you have a whole new generation who have never lived through anything like this. They never went to war, they were never drafted, they never went through a national crisis. And this is going to shape them. And I can tell you just from having my daughters with me, yeah, they're hurt, they're scared, but they are also learning through this. And at the end of the day, they're going to be better people for it. And they're going to be better citizens for it. I believe that because they're rising to the occasion. And as we go through this, let's make sure that we're teaching them the right lessons and the right response. And those lessons and that response are the lessons that we get from our better angels. And during this difficult time, let's listen to the voices of our better angels as individuals, as families, as a community, and as a society. We're going to get through this. The only question is how we get through it and when we get through it. But let's make sure at the end of the day that we can say we are the better for it. And our children are the better for it. And I believe they will be.
Thank you, Governor Cuomo. John Bailey, the opinions on this show are mine. They do not reflect the City of White Plains or any of its employees. John Bailey, good night for White Plains Week. Get your gloves on and face the world like this. Stay safe and take care of yourselves. Good night.